going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Sparty, and in today's video I'm going to teach you how to get God game sense. Let's hop right into it. Alright, so this season is mostly solos and trios for like the competitive lobbies, competitive games, so that's kind of what I'm going to be talking about today. Obviously, if you're a casual player or just any player, some general tips for game sense include like awareness, just looking around you, using your audio cues, and just kind of paying attention, taking in all the information. That's for solos, and then for trios, you do the same thing, but you also have the information of your teammates. So you have even more info and even more like stuff to go off of, more knowledge in the game, basically. But yeah, I'm going to be talking about more of like games that would go to like end game and like kind of like scrim style matches. So as soon as you hop in that bus, you're gliding down, you're going to want to be looking around while you're gliding. Look, see if there's players landing at your spot. See if you can see any guns, any chest spawns. If you see someone landing with you, like you can change your direction. Just all sorts of stuff that you got to be paying attention to increase your game sense and increase your probability of winning that fight off spawn and then being able to make it in the end game. So one thing to take into consideration is the materials you're using. So if you ever watch like pro players play end games, you'll see how they're always switching materials. They know, like, you just think to yourself, how do you know what materials to use and when? Like, so basically, if you're just free rotating, you're just going to want to use wood. If you're getting pressured, you're going to want to switch to harder mats, obviously. But if you have an easy rotate, you just want to block yourself off from a couple of angles, place some wood walls, and that should do the trick. But yeah, that's about it for materials. Just make sure if you're building a base, it's in hard mats, which is brick and metal. And then if you're getting pressured, you definitely want to switch to hard mats as well. Alright, so the next thing I want to talk about is rotations. So I want to talk about launch pads, that is. So if you are blessed by the RNG gods and you get a launch pad in your game, you're going to want to use it in the first moving zone. So wait for half and half, and then once half and half closes, it'll reveal the next zone. And then my advice to you is to wait until the storm's right on your ass, as long as you're not being pressured or anything. And then you want to launch pad as close as you can to the next zone and then tunnel in from there if you don't make it in. But yeah, so that's about it for rotates. I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory. If you know what dead side of the zone is, try to get to the dead side. Just play it really smart, rotate smart. Can't really teach you that, but just kind of go where people aren't, follow other tunnels, use natural cover, all that, and you'll have an easy rotate to zone. So once you're in the next zone, you're chilling in your little base, you're going to want to gather info. Whether it's solos or you're playing with a trio, you're definitely going to want to gather info. And when it's late game and it's just congested, there's builds everywhere, you're going to want to put yourself into a cone so that you can look through a cone and just gather information and be as smart as possible, especially during those end games where you're like kind of tweaking, but you just need to gather info and make a decision off of that. So as the game rolls on, obviously you're spending materials, you're spending resources, and you're gonna want to know when to get an impact frag, which is what I'm gonna tell you right now. So an impact frag is basically when you're low on resources and you need to like kind of re-up, and let's say I'd go for when you have about 200 mats left, that's kind of like a smart time to go for an impact frag. You can go earlier, you can go later. It's all up to you. It's all up to the position you're in the game. Like, you don't have to wait until you're 200 mats. If you see some guy, you just got him 1 HP, obviously you can just W key him, get the easy refresh. But so yeah, 200 mats, that'll be enough for you to get a little box fight in, and just regather resources from another player. So also, I forgot to add, when you're trying to rotate, and so obviously if you don't have a pad, you're going to want to look for other people that have pads. Using that cone trick I said earlier, you can look through your cone, see if anyone else uses a pad. But sometimes you don't know who's going to use a pad. You can't always just assume that they have a pad. But if you hear them with a mythic weapon, like for example, I mean, you can't really tell about the charge shoddy. I'm trying to think of what else. I mean, I guess the only thing, like the grappler or the grenade launcher or the drum gun or whatever, if you hear them with their mythic weapon, then you're gonna know that they probably have a launch pad. But I would be aware of those with the grappler and the shockwave, because they can use that to rotate rather than launch pad, which can be better in some situations. Alright, so yeah, let's just recap everything I just talked about. So the first thing is obviously awareness, and that's kind of just using your audio cues, using what you see. One thing I forgot to add that I actually have is I have double movement binds, and I have really bad keybinds, by the way, if you didn't already know. But like the movement binds, I only use them to look in like each direction, so I can keep running forward. While let's say I look to the left, I have more field of view to my left side, and I can just keep running in the same direction. It's a little bit hard to explain. Hopefully I'll show a clip on screen right now. But if I don't, then I just got lazy and I don't really give a fuck. But anyway, so yeah, like you can use that to look around you. You definitely want to jump and like look around you and stuff, and always keep your head on a swivel. So then after that, we talked about like stacked end games and stuff like that. Talked about rotating. Gonna want to use the pad. First moving zone, gonna want to, use hard mats when you're being pressured or when you're building a base. Gonna want to look through a cone to gather information. Also, if you're in trios and you want to, I think I mentioned this earlier, but just make sure you're communicating every little tiny detail, because your teammates need to know that stuff, and you need to know what's going on in their head, and just having the most information possible is always a great situation. So yeah, impact frags, we talked about that. You want to get them at 200 materials, so that's just about enough to get into a fight and be able to refresh your resources. And also, one thing I didn't talk about, but if you want to boost your game sense even further, besides obviously watching this video and dropping a sub and a like, but besides that, you can go into replay mode and watch other players' VODs from tournaments such as like FNCS. I don't think you can watch those anymore, but you can literally just go on YouTube and look up FNCS VOD and then just watch exactly what they do. See, like I like doing this on my PC so that I can wear my headphones and like hear exactly what they hear, and like think about what I would have done in that situation, and then seeing what they would have done. I mean, 9 times out of 10, their judgment is better than yours because they're pro players. But just going into replay mode, watching some VODs from like a Cash Cup or something, doesn't even matter. Just watching anything, trios, solos, you'll see what's going on in their head, and then you can try to implement that into your gameplay. But yeah, that's all from me today, boys. Thank you for watching. Hit like and subscribe. Check the description for my Instagram and my Twitch. I stream daily. Thank you. Love you guys. Peace.